And it looks like we're live. Yay. What are you doing? You good? Well, welcome back to the Stack and Shed podcast, episode 37.
Yep.
We didn't take a month to get back.
Yeah,
See,
finally.
we're improving. Let me just make sure that
Incrementally.
Hopefully this episode isn't a huge black box. If it is, my fault.
I blame Gronk.
It shouldn't be. It says right here, display capture on. So, hypothetically, should be good. Will it work? Who knows? Moving on. So, it's the off season. So, slow.
The dead part of the off season.
Slow. The most interesting we have to talk about is the NFL being an awful organization. I'm just gonna jump into that because it's something that, you know. So Washington, the Washington football team, okay, they've been under investigation, and I won't pretend to know everything because I don't, but there's one thing that it's pretty obvious that Snyder has a awful culture going on there.
Yes.
And it's just not the team, the torment they put the cheerleaders under, and the female staff is just disgusting. And we can go on that all day. But that's bad enough. And what makes it worse is the NFL's reaction to it. So they had this investigation that's been going on for, 6 months? I want to say something like that. And they released their findings yesterday. It was an oral statement. Put it in perspective. The Deflategate scandal, right, had a 139
we're
page.
talk about this, really?
Well, let's just use that as compare. 139 page report over some footballs. And this horrible excuse for a work environment got an oral report and a slap on the wrist. A $10 million fine. Dan Snyder makes that in like 3 weeks.
Not even any loss of draft capital.
No. And it's disgusting. There's no excuse for it. You can't.
How is he still allowed to be an owner?
I don't know, and I don't know how.
Why can't they just force sell the team?
And I don't know how Goodell is. And that's when people ask why, how could Goodell get that extension that he got? This is why, because he's perfect for these owners, because he just constantly scratches their back. He pretends to play tough. He doesn't. And listen, and that $10 million fine is just a slap in the face to really everybody. It's disgusting. And
especially those who had to deal with the Washington football team organization.
Yep. And you know damn well that $10 million isn't going to go to a charity. It's going to go right to Goodell, and I guarantee you Dan Snyder will see probably $1 million of that back. We all know that that's just how it works. And it's disgusting. It shouldn't happen like that. Yeah. The NFL is the NFL. And I don't see it changing until Roger Goodell isn't the commissioner.
Whenever that's going to be. It's not going to be anytime soon, but whenever that's going to be.
I just don't see it changing. He's one of the issues, and until then, teams are going to be able to get away with it. And that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about the NCAA?
That thing is slowly progressing to where it should be going, but it's been slow because it's the NCAA, of course. But yeah, college players are now able to make money off endorsements using their likeness.
Yay.
How in-depth that is, I'm not too sure of. I know it's probably pretty shallow as of right now. I know in terms of NCAA football games coming back, universities have already signed on, but it's more so waiting on the players to be able to sell their likeness, which they should.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they should. They should be able to make a business off themselves because that's what they are basically as a professional, well, semi-professional as of currently, sports players to make a lot of your money making yourself a business.
I mean, and another thing that was stupid, and under these the previous rules, you couldn't even own a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You couldn't, be an athlete, even, if you were a third string. running back. You couldn't be a third string running back and also run a YouTube channel. Even if you didn't talk about football or do anything football related, you couldn't own a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is just dumb. So yeah, it's still a ways away, but it's a good start. But going back into it, yeah, it's great, but this also should open the door to Reggie Bush getting as a Heisman back. Now, I know there's going to be people, because there's always those people that are going to say, well, he shouldn't have done it 10 years. No one cares. Because, yeah, he took, I think it was like $300,000. Listen, he gave a lot more than that to USC in what he did on the field, off the field, and what he did for their recruiting. $300,000 was nothing. So get Reggie his Heisman back, because it's dumbest, absolute, just stupid. There's going to be people that are going to be arguing it. We know that. It is what it is, but man, just give him his Heisman back. It's annoying. But yeah, we'll see. I hope he gets his Heisman back, but knowing the NCAA, they'll hold on it for however many years.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
They're gonna hold on to it for as long as they can.
Yeah, and
because it's the NCAA.
And someone said, well, looking back on it, if you're incarcerated for something and then in 2 years later it's determined not to be a crime, they let you out. And that's what's happening around the. So yeah, it's not a crime anymore. Anyway, moving on. It's stupid, and people are dumb, and people who defend at USC and the NCAA just dumb. I don't know about you, and I don't know if this is a hot take in the NFL landscape. I don't watch Hard Knocks.
Neither do I. I never have.
I have never felt compelled to watch an episode of Hard Knocks. Maybe it's just because I'm not a reality TV person. I don't care. Maybe that's bad, but yeah. So the Cowboys Cowboys are on Hard Knocks. For people who watch Hard Knocks, Cowboys are on it. I think that's like their third time. Who cares? I don't watch it. Reality TV has never been my thing. Never will be.
Neither is the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, Cowboys fans can't even be happy they're on it. I mean, I think I saw somewhere like every time the Cowboys have been on it, they miss the playoffs. So that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the only thing left is the OTA violations.
Yeah, the OTA violations of the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Dallas Cowboys, and the San Francisco 49ers. According to Nick Shook, an NFL writer on NFL.com, he said that specifics of the violations are unknown, though they typically center on the intensity of practice sessions and resulting contact. Players are in shorts, jerseys, and helmets during these sessions. Main contact is expected to be minimal, if not non-existent. The Jacksonville Jaguars were fined $200,000, while San Francisco and Dallas were each fined $100,000. And their head coaches were also fined, Urban Meyer $100,000, and Mike McCarthy and Kyle Shanahan $50,000 respectively.
Yeah.
And also 2 49ers players were injured during OTAs during this whole thing. Offensive lineman Justin School and defensive back Tavares Moore.
Ouch. Poor 49ers, man.
Both out for the whole season. Most likely.
Why is it... Now I'm getting an error message on my computer. I don't know what's... Oh,
what are you doing?
It says you might be offline, but it still says we're recording on OBS. I don't know. Yeah, 49ers, man, they have the worst injury luck in the league. You could make a case for other teams, but consistently, it's 49ers all the way.
Yeah.
I mean...
Especially last year.
They had I think it was at 1.9 defensive starters out under Saleh, and he was still producing a top 10 defense, which is absurd. I mean, the OTA violation, the only thing I can think of is maybe it's, like you said, contact, or there was pads involved, which you're not supposed to have pads on. Only 2 things I could think of are those. All right. Yeah, like you said, slow news week.
Very slow. And
if it wasn't for the NFL and NCAA just being complete garbage, it would have been very much shorter. So, yeah. Good sport. The leagues that run it, no comment. on that.
Yeah.
So let's just
At
jump.
the very least.
Yeah. Let's jump into it. So last week we did top 10 safeties. We're gonna do running backs today. The most irreplaceable
The most
position.
replaceable position.
Irreplaceable. You know what I mean? I mean,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, this is like 1950. Yeah.
But it's funny because I was making my list, and I kind of did it on a mix of what I expect to happen this year, and I kind of base it on a lot of last year. Man, 1 through like 3 are elite, and then there's a huge drop after 1 through 3. And then
That's almost disrespectful.
and then 8 through 10 are like, 8, and then like the other honorable mentions, you could honestly just switch them in, and I wouldn't really mind. The running back position is just becoming so, it's almost becoming a specialist point. Like it's almost to that level of kicker, punter, long snapper, where there's just so many that, I don't know.
Yeah.
You could make a case it's harder to find a long snapper than a running back. You could make, now I don't know if I would make that case. That's a prickly argument.
I make a case for kicker. I make a case for kicker.
It is harder to find a good kicker. But like I would be interested to find someone to make that argument. I wouldn't make it because that's a lot of long snapping watching that I don't know if I want to do. I respect that position, but I don't want to watch it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
All right.
I don't think I've ever in my life looked at a long snapper and actually like, how is he snapping the ball?
But that's the thing is, you for a long snapper to be successful, you have to be irrelevant, right? Which is so backwards. Normally, you want to make the splash plays, get interest, show your fundamentals. Boom, you're a player. But with the long snappers, you want to be completely unknown. The best long snappers will play 17 years, and you're like, who? I mean, you'll be like, who is that? And then the long snappers of, normally it's because they botched 2 snaps and they're out of the league. So it's rough, man. Anyone that can do that is just freaky. So let's go into yours. Scroll all the way down so we don't see it. All right. So honorable mentions.
So we're starting with okay. Yeah. Honorable mentions: Cam Akers, Tony Pollard, Kareem Hunt, Austin Eckler, and Josh Jacobs.
Ooh.
I could have put maybe like 1 or 2 more, but I felt like 5 was a decent honorable mention.
Point. I think I had 4. That's about equal. Yeah.
My number 10 running back, Najee Harris.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm putting a guy on the list who has yet to play a snap. Yep, I'm doing that. I honestly thought about putting him like maybe like two spots higher at most. I absolutely love Najee. He's my favorite running back that I've scouted. His biggest concern for me is the Steelers' offensive line, but Najee, man, I just love Najee, and I expect him to hit the ground running.
Hey, I got to see what you did there. That was actually a good joke. Interesting. All right.
What do you mean all my puns are good jokes? What are you talking about?
No, stop. No, that's not what we're doing. Trust me. It's like 1 in every 5. I'll give you I'll give you 20%. All right. Damn.
All right, number 9, James Robinson for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's absolutely killed the last year as a undrafted free agent. It sucks to see how crowded they made that backfield with Carlos Hyde and Travis Etienne, but Robinson deserves to be running back 1 and get the majority of the reps. He absolutely deserves it, and I think he should. He's my number 9 running back, even though he probably is not going to produce like a top 10 back this coming season unless something happens.
Yeah, what they did to him, man, it was so disrespectful. They brought in Travis Etienne, which is bad enough. But, we've seen the 2 running backs. Then they brought in Carlos Hyde. And Carlos Hyde, everywhere he goes, he's fantasy football players' worst nightmare. You see Carlos Hyde in the backfield with your guy, you have to sit him. Because there's always a possibility that he's going to have that game every season where he goes for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Happens every year without fail, sometimes multiple times a year. But then when you sit him and you play him, he gets 20 yards. I hate Carlos Hyde. I hate Carlos Hyde. I love him, the player. You're a good running back. But dude, I hate seeing his name in fantasy when it comes. I literally avoid running backs that have a chance to play with Carlos Hyde. It's just not it. And so yeah, Jerome.
Yeah.
I feel bad for James Robinson because he just doesn't deserve that handicap.
All right, number 8 is Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts. He started off a bit slow, but he absolutely killed at the end of the season. Dude's extremely talented. We saw that at Wisconsin. He needs to work on his hands. He's not that great of a receiving back. I'm also very concerned about his workload because he had a huge workload in college, and the more it progresses in the NFL, the more you're going to have to worry about those injury concerns and him starting to slow down, because that happens with every running back. The more work they get, the more wear and tear goes on those legs, the less productive they become. So I don't know how long Jonathan Taylor can keep up his large workload in the NFL after his large workload in college, but hopefully it's for a while.
Yeah, I mean he's a freak. Ooh, number 7.
All right, number 7 is Alvin Kamara. This is probably a little bit low to a lot of people, but this is where I'm going to put Alvin Kamara. A perfect example of why not to draft a running back early. Only 2 running backs ahead of him were first-round picks. You can easily count on him for easily 1,500 yards a season, receiving and rushing. Obviously, having a limited arm, Drew Brees boosted his production a bit, especially as an elite receiving back. I'm very interested to see how much Jameis or Taysom Hill will run the Saints offense and how much production he will get under those two's tutelage.
It honestly goes down to how much Jameis or Taysom will check it down. Neither are the most sound quarterback out there, and they're not known for taking the check down very often. So
yeah.
You might see a pretty big dip in his receiving yards, I think.
Yeah. Number 6, Joe Mixon for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this is one of the main running backs that we were we were different on last year, and it might be the same this year. I'm not sure, probably. But in my opinion, he's in contention for one of the best receiving backs in the league, as well as just a great running back in general. Dude produced even with Cincinnati's lack of a competent offensive line and lack of a competent quarterback. Looking forward to the season when both him and Joe Burrow should be fully healthy again. Hopefully the offensive line is a bit better. They did make some upgrades, but I don't know how much it'll help. But yeah. I absolutely love Joe Mixon, and I think he's a great talent running back.
I'm going to spoil mine now. He's my honorable mention. And the reason is because looking at that 8 through 13 ranking, they're all kind of the same level for me. And I'll go in further. I love Joe Mixon, but the thing is it's just about, I think he's a good running back. I just don't think he's that upper echelon of top 5, top 7, personally. But yeah, he's my honorable mention. I always have trouble ranking Joe Mixon because I like him as a player, but I always have struggle putting him any higher than like 8 or 9 in my top 10s. I don't know why. I don't know. I need to stop
I like Joe Mixon.
I need to stop the anti-Joe Mixon slander, really. I don't even think
hopefully
I don't even mean to. It just happens. All right.
There's just those players for everyone.
Yeah.
Number 5, we have Saquon Barkley. By far the most talented running back in the league. I think everyone can pretty much agree to that. However, he has yet to truly have like an elite running back style season. Injuries and offensive line play, especially the past 2 years, have just been a huge negative factor for him. But dude has too much talent to ignore. This is like me putting Derwin James at number 10 last week, except it's running backs, and when you have that much talent, you just get pushed up that much higher. This is just me hoping he'll live up to his hype and his talent.
Yeah. Ooh.
Number 4 is my boy, Nick Chubb, the Georgia boy. Dude's is just an absolute machine. He needs to be more consistent as receiving threat. That's his only downside with his game. But as a running threat, I'd probably put him as like maybe the second or third best pure running back in the league. But we're talking about like all-around skill set. He's number 4 in my opinion. Just last year, and only playing 12 games, and also having to share the backfield with borderline top 10 running back Kareem Hunt, he totaled over 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, and a 5.6 yards per carry in just 12 games and sharing the backfield. Nick Chubb is just that dude. He's my boy.
Yeah.
Loved him at Georgia. Will always love him in the NFL, especially with the way he's producing.
Yeah.
Number 3, we have Carolina Panthers Christian McCaffrey. By far the best receiving back in the NFL. There's no question about that. Dude can line up at receiver and he'll still put up 1,000 yards. He's also a very good runner of the football. Will probably be my second running back, if not for the plethora of injuries he had to suffer through last season. Just because usually if it's like one injury that leaves you out for the whole year, I probably won't knock you. But if it's like injuries built upon one another, then that's something you need to worry about a little bit more, which is why he got dropped down to 3 instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, we have Dalvin Cook. I believe he's related to Georgia running back James Cook. So
I think a cousin or something.
Yeah. So hopefully James Cook will have a similar impact when he gets to the NFL. Dalvin Cook is a really good all-around back for the Vikings. He could do everything asked of him. He could be better in pass protection if I'm being extremely nitpicky. But dude had over 1,900 total yards, 17 touchdowns, and 5 yards per carry in 14 games last season. Dalvin Cook's just extremely productive. That's all there is to it. And he deserves number 2.
He's consistent, too, which I think is the biggest draw for him.
Yeah.
Wow, I wonder
now,
if
number one.
Wow.
Number 1, you have to have Derrick Henry.
Wow, gee. Shocker.
Personally, I love running backs that are more versatile, and Derrick Henry is not the most versatile of running backs, but he's just been way too dominant to not put him at number 1. It'd just be a disrespect and blatant lie to have him not at number 1.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Gee. Yeah. My list is pretty similar, beside really Mixon, I think, and Najee, obviously.
Najee.
I didn't even think about Najee in the running backs.
I don't even like Bama. I just love Najee.
I should have thought about that, huh? All right, let's do mine. So scroll up. Honorable mentions. Okay, I have a few. David Montgomery is a kind of a name I'm surprised you didn't bring up. He freaking just ate last season. And it kind of went unnoticed because it's the Bears, and whenever you would talk about the Bears, it would just be, haha, Trubisky sucks. Montgomery.
MVP.
Yeah, Montgomery.
How dare you disrespect the MVP like that?
David Montgomery was finally that running back that people have been kind of hyping him up the last couple of years. Now, can he do it again? I don't know. But that's why I put him on that. But if he does what he did last season again, he's going to slip in there. And he's pretty good. It's just consistency for him has always been his downfall. Honorable mentions, of course, the usual. J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, who's a freak. And I put Joe Mixon in my honorable mentions, like I said. But he could go as high as 8. But I'm going to start off at number 10 is Kareem Hunt. Man, him and I think there was a point in the season. I think it was pretty late in the season where there was a possibility.
Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is an honorable mention.
Oof. I don't even know where I put Aaron Jones on mine. Kareem Hunt, I think there was a point where they both had a chance to go for 1,000. I don't think it happened. I think Kareem Hunt ended with like 900 and something. It was something close to 1,000. But Kareem Hunt is a guy that could easily be an everyday back on 85% of rosters. It's just there's these few, the team he's on just happens to have, a top 4 back, and he's just there. He's still insanely productive. He's a great role player, which you don't really think of in the NFL, but he's a great role player, and man, his skills are insane. He's still that caliber back. He's just, technically a backup. Number 9, I got Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. I love Josh Jacobs. There's something about the way Josh Jacobs runs that I love watching him. I love watching his highlights. I love watching just his normal game film. The only thing with Jacobs that's really concerning for me is his burst. He's a powerful runner, but he doesn't really cut up the field as much as you'd like to see. His burst is, he's a power back, and that I don't know how long that'll translate. And that's kind of why they went out and got Kenyon Drake. It's still kind of a dumb move, but you could kind of see why. So they have a little lightning and thunder type thing. Will it work? It's John Gruden. Probably not. But I love Josh Jacobs, and I think he's still top 10. Number 8, this is where I had Aaron Jones. I didn't forget about him. I thought I did. Here's the thing with Aaron Jones. He's great at what he does, but I think a lot of what he does is he gets helped with Rodgers a lot. I don't know if we would look at Aaron Jones the same without Rodgers. His checkdowns and the way they run that offense through Jones a lot, it makes him look a lot better, I think, than he is. You kind of saw that in the championship game where he just wasn't there. I know he was hurt after the first quarter, but he shouldn't have been on the field, and he just wasn't there. He kind of dropped for that. He's a good pass catcher, great vision, but I kind of worry about his durability, especially on that team. And if they don't have Rodgers, yeah, I think his production will dip next year.
Yeah, probably.
Jonathan Taylor, I think you had him pretty high.
Yeah, I had him at number 6 or 7.
That's where I have him, number 7.
8.
Oh, I have him at number
He's
7.
8.
Jonathan, he was one of the top backs in the league last year. But like you said, his biggest worry is he was ran into the ground at Wisconsin. And I'm concerned that that's going to catch up to him, like you said. Hopefully it doesn't. I'm praying he has like a 12-year career. Yeah, I'm worried about it. But strictly what he did last season and what he's going to do this season with an improved quarterback situation, more weapons around him, his offensive line is going to be healthy again. Jonathan Taylor's going to have a repeat performance as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Number 6, Alvin Kamara. I think this is where you had him too, at number 6.
I had him at 7.
Okay, so one above. Yeah, it might be low for some people. I actually had him, I think, barely in the top 10 when we did these last year. I think he was like my number 9 or number 10 back. He bounced back. He had a rocky last season. I think there was an injury. Came back, great season. Like you said, Breeze throwing 5-yard noodles at his best of times helped. So he kind of benefited off that. Now, like you said earlier, can he be the feature as well as get Jameis to throw the check down? I know, Jameis, you don't like throwing the check down, but throw it. You have second or third best receiving back over there. Just toss it, bro. Imagine you're doing one of those drills where you're like throwing the football up like this, and you know what? Boom, 6 yards. It's really up to Jameis, and I don't think Taysom Hill will be the quarterback, but if he is, Taysom. Number 5, I got Barkley. Saquon at number 5.
Where I had him.
Man, I'm worried about his injury history. Coming off an ACL, it's pretty risky. But I will say this about Barkley. Like you said, he's the most talented running back in the league. He can catch, pass, block, do anything you want. It's just, can he put it together? And if he puts it together for just one season, I think he's easily a top 3 back. You could argue top 2 over Dalvin Cook. Number 4, Nick Chubb. That dude. He's a monster, dude. I'm so mad New England drafted Sony Michel over him. Because if we had Nick Chubb, Brady would still be here. I'm saying it. You know what? I'm doing it. So, it sucks. He's just a beast, man. He runs through you. He does everything you need. His pass catching is the only thing you could really gripe on him about. And even then, it's still, I'd say, average to above average. He's not even like he's a terrible pass catcher.
Yeah.
He's actually a better NFL pass catcher than Sony Michel, which I think is just hilarious if you think about it, because that's all he did at college. People were saying, "Oh, he's the pass catcher." No, Sony Michel was not a pass catcher. So yeah, Nick Chubb should be a Patriot. He's not. Sad days.
I really wanted him in Denver's, but we got Cortland's son, so I guess I'll take it.
Number 3, Dalvin Cook. I had a hard time between 2 and 3. I was, him and McCaffrey, spoiler, he's my number 2. They were close. I think the only reason I put McCaffrey slightly ahead is that versatility. McCaffrey he's really not even a running back. He's just a slot receiver that gets bored half the time and then just goes in the backfield and gets 1,000 yards. That's what he is in hindsight. So, yeah, you can make the McCaffrey's a receiver joke all you want. He's still the second. And if it wasn't for this absolute freaking truck in Tennessee, he would be the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
But Derrick Henry, obviously, you can't put anyone else at number one because he's done it for 2 seasons now, and he won't stop. The only concern you have with him is with such a high usage rate is can his body stay up with it? He's a bigger back. He's got more body than a lot of running backs, and that means there's more places for him to get injured. That's the biggest worry thing for Derrick Henry. He hasn't gotten injured yet, but if he goes down, that Tennessee offense, yikes. Because he's really what makes that whole machine
that's
go.
a pure play action based offense, and that wouldn't be good.
No. And it'll be also interesting to see how he does without Arthur Smith. Because if you don't know, Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, before Henry was there, he was averaging like 50 yards a game. Now he averages like 120. So, something to watch out. So that's my top 10 backs. Ours are pretty similar. We're only different on like a few.
I mean, they're running backs, to be fair, though.
Yeah, they are. They are running backs. But yeah, like I said, they're a pretty replaceable bunch. I mean, if you were to make a top 10 running back list 3 years ago, none of those guys would be in the top 10 now. I mean, that would be like a Todd Gurley, Devonta Freeman, all them guys.
Poor Gurley.
Yeah. I think he's signing with Baltimore, which doesn't make sense.
To be third string behind
pretty much.
Dobbins and Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much pick up like 5 snaps a game and try to win a ring.
Yeah.
All right. I'll let you do your player of the week.
All right. We are doing JT Daniels this week. Going with quarterbacks again. The redshirt junior quarterback out of Georgia. Feels weird just looking at his birthday and knowing that I'm older than him.
You ain't got to remind me, bro. You ain't got to throw shade at me, too, like that, dude. Ow.
So I tried to watch all of his games from this past season. The only one I couldn't find was South Carolina. So I watched Mizzou, the bowl game versus Cincinnati and Mississippi State. He's a projected first-round pick in this upcoming draft. My draft grade for him is a mid-second, early third. So about slightly above where I had Malik Willis. His pro comp is Eli Manning.
Ugh. Sorry about that. I still cringe when I hear that name. Sorry.
It's just gut reaction.
Yeah, it's not. It's an innate reaction. I can't even help it.
So, pros, JT Daniels is a very intelligent quarterback prospect. He works through his progressions fast and efficiently, and he knows when to take a check down, unlike Jameis Winston. He can throw timing routes on time and has shown the ability to make pre-snap reads and adjustments and make solid decisions for most of the time. He has great movement within the pocket, often escaping sacks and stepping up in the pocket to make throws. He shows a mastery of the offense with a great ability to throw with anticipation, and his ball placement can be even to the level of mastery at times. He does by far his best work when he's in the pocket, but can throw on the run if needed. A very traditional pocket passer who has some mobility if needed and can throw with touch and on a line. He also wields a quick release and a good arm, and he has shown the ability to work well under pressure. And just this past season against number 8 Cincinnati, he drove his offense down during the Peach Bowl to win with less than 2 minutes left to play and showed great composure on that drive. His cons, though, he needs to work on his mechanics and footwork quite a bit. He's an accurate passer, but not consistent enough to be called precise. If I'm assuming that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, accuracy and precision aren't the same thing.
Throwing off platform and on the run are very inconsistent. Again, it goes back to his mechanics more often than not. He will commonly use just his arm to throw the ball instead of his whole body, leading to off-target and weaker passes. It's something that's annoying me and something I saw with Paxton Lynch that was extremely annoying sometimes, where you try and make that quick throw so you wouldn't put your whole body into it to get that accuracy, and you just basically throw with your arm. And it's like, dude, please.
He attended the Cam Newton quarterback camp.
Yeah. He took a lot of snaps in the shotgun during the 2020 season. Would like to see him more under center, especially with how he plays the quarterback position. His pocket awareness can be a bit iffy. Sometimes he'll fully miss a rusher or not be aware of his blind side when pressure's there. He had an ACL tear in the past, so medical should be one to look at, but probably not the most too concerning considering how far ACL repair has come in the past couple of years. Overall takeaway, JT Daniels is a solid quarterback prospect. He is very smart and can do everything you ask of him to. Key thing is coaching out the bad habits, and he can be a borderline top 10 quarterback in the league. Not a lot of physical potential, but can improve physically with mechanical and footwork improvements for his arm strength. He has great mental potential and should grasp a playbook fairly well. Ideal landing spots would be Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, almost said Oakland, Washington, New York Giants, Philadelphia, Denver, Detroit, Minnesota, New Orleans, and Carolina.
So everywhere.
Yeah, 11 teams.
Yeah.
Basically teams with already an established quarterback.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see because JT Daniels, I mean, from what I didn't watch much Georgia football last year compared to usual. Well, don't really live in Georgia anymore. I did like it, but again, like you said, that was the one thing I noticed when I watched him play last season. Is when he did get pressured, he would just kind of go like, and it's like, dude, take the hit, calm down, deliver the football. And his jitters is something I noticed. I only watched like 2 Georgia games last year, which is rare. Normally I have to watch a lot more because, well, they're always on. It's annoying.
What do you mean it's annoying? That'd be great.
Dude,
I have to find streaming sites to watch it.
I tell you, man, when I was living in Georgia, bro, that's all you would see on TV. And it's like, dude, I don't care. I don't. I was forced to watch Georgia because there was no other football on. It was annoying. I didn't even get to watch Georgia Tech, which is the team I liked, because they were never on TV because they sucked. So it is what it is.
Still do.
Again, man, my curse for being a Patriots fan was being completely cursed with Georgia Tech. And I made that decision when I was 6 years old. It was the worst decision I ever made in my life. Shouldn't have made it. Should have gone back. Should have been any other fan. I failed. All right. So
I'm
back.
just stuck in kind of mediocrity.
Yeah.
For all my teams.
Yeah. Mediocrity is hard. At least with Georgia Tech, there's no expectations. So when they win, it feels like I just won the college football championship when they win a game. And when they lose, it's the norm. So the fantasy football segment is back. I didn't want Brendan to be the only one doing a special segment. I was going to do another one. I had an idea.
Yeah,
but
I know you were.
Listen,
I thought that was coming.
I wanted to do it, but I shouldn't make a whole thing about slandering players because that's really not right. But in a serious note, y'all need to really figure out how to slander players correctly, bro, because y'all don't even be doing it right, and it hurts. I could be the best Tom Brady slander person on the internet. I mean, when the best one is that dude, I don't even know his name, the Barry. He has me blocked because it was funny because I just.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He made a tweet and I quote retweeted it with something.
Well, I thought wasn't he just I thought he was just a troll account.
He was, but he gets really mad when you like debunk whatever he says, which makes no sense. As a troll, there was one time I don't even know, and I think I ratioed on him, and he just blocked me. I'm like, dude, it ain't that serious. Again, bro, they need to step their game up. So, we're going to start at quarterbacks for the fantasy football. Quarterbacks don't really matter in the scheme of fantasy football. They're kind of the position you kind of just pick one, and then you pick another for the bye week, and you just kind of roll with it. You're really paying attention to the running backs and receivers. But there's a few quarterbacks this season that I think are going to be game changers that are under the radar. Now, first, Kirk Cousins is always a great bye week filler because he's either going to get you 250 yards, he's going to get you your base amount of points, or there's like 3 weeks a season where he's playing Sunday at 1 o'clock, and he's playing against Jacksonville, and all of a sudden he has 474 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, and then also, any rookie quarterback from this class is worth a stash. I would, honestly, if you have a 2-quarterback league, I would consider having a Zach Wilson or a Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, if he starts soon enough, Trey Lance, I wouldn't start Mac Jones. Don't do it. But I think the 5 under-the-radar quarterbacks are obviously Ryan Tannehill. He has been a top fantasy quarterback for the last 2 years. Now, he doesn't have Arthur Smith anymore, but he has Julio instead. Yeah, he lost his offensive coordinator. He gained a top 5 receiver. I think he's fine with it. And I think he's learned enough to be fine. Number 4, last season, I saw a lot of leagues where Brady went after round 10 or 11. And no one really could have predicted what he would do last season. I'm interested to see where he goes. I still feel like he's going to be an under-the-radar quarterback, just because people are going to assume he's going to just do worse, and he never does. I would consider drafting Brady after round 5. Round 6, 7, once you get those starters at running backs and receiver, I think Brady is a good option. Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington is going to be interesting. He's going to win the job, obviously. Playing with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin? Hey, man. I think he's going to get some yards. He's got Antonio Gibson as a reliable check down. And you know Ryan Fitzpatrick does love the check down every now and again. Number 2 is Joe Burrow. Listen, he doesn't have an offensive line.
Joey B.
But him and Jamar Chase are going to create some fireworks. It may not be as consistent, so I wouldn't buy both. But Joe Burrow is going to improve on last season. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate. His year was looking just as good as Justin Herbert. The only difference was he didn't finish the season. And lastly,
he's not a quarterback.
And lastly, the last thing is, I guarantee it. You can clip it, save it, book it. Carson Wentz is going to be top 10 quarterback in fantasy this year. You can debate the top 10 quarterback real life, but fantasy-wise, he's going to put up top 10 numbers. He's playing under Frank Reich with better weapons than he's had really in his whole career. He's got Jonathan Taylor in the back. He's got Nyheim Hines coming out of the backfield as a receiving option.
Back as well.
Yep. Marlon Mack's still there. Anything that Wentz needs, he has. If he fumbles his chance, but if he fumbles his chance, which I don't think it is because I'm guaranteeing it. But if he does, it's literally because he sucks.
I guarantee.
But I guarantee it. Book it. Top 10 quarterback numbers. I think he's viable to be drafted anytime after round 8. And if you draft him earlier, I still think you're making a good pick. Get your quarterback. He's going to start every game next season. I don't care about his injury history. Top 10 quarterback numbers. I don't think he's ever done that. So that's what I got. Yeah. I can't wait to go get Carson Wentz this season. Because I have to die by that sword.
And before I draft Zach Wilson, number 1 overall.
Push, man. That'll be interesting to see, though, because Zach Wilson has a pretty good, group of receivers. Doesn't really have a superstar yet, but it's got a good group of guys.
And the offensive line's pretty good.
Yeah, well, it can't get much worse than they were last season. So.
True.
So that's about it. How many minutes was that? That was only 42 minutes. Well, one of our shorter episodes.
There's no news whatsoever, and running backs, there's not really much to debate or really talk about too much.
Only thing that happened while we were recording was Josh Gordon filed for reinstatement again.
That's I thought you did that a while ago.
No, I think it was. No, it just said he
probably
did
just rumored.
Yeah, he did it now. Apparently, he's been drug tested randomly the past 3 months, and he's passed all of it. So hopefully he comes back. He could be a contributor on a lot of teams. I imagine a team like Indy would give him a chance.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking I'd like to see him in Indianapolis.
Baltimore could always use another receiver.
Yeah.
New Orleans could use another receiver. A lot of teams could use a third, fourth option. And he showed in New England he can be a viable deep threat. So I think it's Cleveland. Yeah. Oh, he was a freak in Cleveland, man. 13 games, led the league in receiving.
Yep. Ugh. Imagine what we could have had.
Yeah, man. Him and Justin Blackmon, too, man. I mean, Blackmon is... I remember Blackman's rookie year, I had him in fantasy. And that was the first year I did fantasy. And my receiving core was Antonio Brown, AJ Green, and Justin Blackmon. Dude, I don't think I won that league. I think we lost in the playoffs. But, dude, I loved that team, man. That team was good. I wish I could find that folder of the old fantasy. I gotta look for it now. I gotta try that. I'm doing that research now. I loved it. All right, but I think that's it for the this week's of the Stack and Shed podcast. Pretty slow week.
Yes.
I think the schedule looking forward. I mean, it's July 2nd now, so we have about another month of slow training camps. But once August hits, we're back on it. Hopefully. Then we got the move. We're both moving in August.
Yeah.
So August may be a little awkward, but I guarantee you by September we'll be getting it back. We'll be going. So we'll see you next episode on the Stack and